sky over Earth had become a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Stars were drowned in the glow of combat. Human warships moved like shadows of lightning, weaving through energy blasts and shattering the confidence of the Zorath fleet. Explosions flashed across the atmosphere, painting the world in fire and blue light. Admiral Kalor's fleet, once proud and untouchable, now fought to survive. His ships were massive, their armor thick, and their weapons powerful. But against the humans' hidden technology, they were vulnerable. The humans had trained for this. Every ship had a role, every weapon a target. Pilots communicated with precision, using simple yet effective tactics to overwhelm the alien formations. Their warships moved in unpredictable patterns, striking where the Zorath least expected. From the Atlantic Ocean, Captain Marcus Hale commanded his fleet with calm intensity. His voice was steady, though adrenaline raced through his veins. "Focus fire on the lead Zorath cruiser," he ordered. "Break their formation. Keep moving. Don't give them a target." Below him, soldiers manned weapons and shields. The crew worked as one, each member anticipating the next move. Missiles launched from hidden bays, beams of energy cut through alien shields, and drones swarmed around enemy ships, disabling systems with speed and precision. The Zorath were confused. Their tactics, honed over centuries of conquest, were failing. They expected humans to fight like other civilizations, predictable, rigid, easy to destroy. But humanity did not fight like any other species. Humans adapted, improvised, and survived. On the flagship bridge, Admiral Kalor's scowl deepened. "They are different. They are not weak. They are dangerous. Admiral, their ships are too fast, too clever. Our sensors cannot keep up," an officer reported. Kalor slammed his fist on the console. "We will not be defeated by primitives. Target the carriers, destroy their command ships." But even as he gave the orders, human ships darted in from unexpected directions. Fighters launched from ocean carriers, weaving around the massive Zorath cruisers. Missiles hit shields, creating cascading explosions. One by one, the alien vessels faltered, forced to maneuver defensively instead of attacking. On the ground, ordinary humans watched the spectacle in awe. From rooftops, streets, and open fields, people saw their world fighting back. Fear still existed, but now it was joined by pride and hope. Humanity, they realized, had hidden strength beyond imagination. Commander Elena Voss oversaw the battle from the Mountain Command Center. Her calm eyes scanned the display, noting each move of her fleet. She spoke softly but firmly into the communication channels. "Do not underestimate them," she said. "Every Zorath ship we destroy brings us closer to victory. Keep pressing. Show them the spirit of Earth." The message spread to pilots and crews across the planet. Every human in the fleet understood their role. They were not just fighting to survive. They were fighting to prove that humanity could stand among the stars. From the skies above Asia, Captain Lian Chen maneuvered her cruiser through a cluster of alien ships. Energy beams streaked past her hull. She ducked and weaved, launching volleys of missiles that tore through the enemy formation. One cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash, its remnants scattering like sparks. "Direct hit," she shouted. "We're holding them back." Meanwhile, the Zorath attempted a new tactic. They unleashed massive plasma storms from orbit, hoping to overwhelm the human fleet. Their weapons targeted entire continents, aiming to crush Earth's morale. But human warships were ready. Energy shields flared, dispersing the storms. Anti-plasma systems fired back, creating counterwaves that pushed the alien storms away. It was a battle of both technology and ingenuity. The Zorath had size and firepower, but humans had creativity, adaptability, and determination. Each strike the aliens launched was met with a clever counter. Every time a human ship fell, others took its place. The sheer coordination of Earth's forces stunned even the most experienced alien commanders. On the flagship bridge, Admiral Kalor's face was pale. He had never seen a species fight like this. He barked orders furiously, but each command was met with unexpected maneuvers. "They anticipate us," he roared. "They are reading our moves. They are learning," an officer admitted reluctantly. Kalor clenched his teeth. "We will destroy them all." But the humans were relentless. From the southern oceans, hidden submarines launched kinetic missiles that struck alien engines. From desert silos, railguns fired enormous projectiles that pierced shields. Cloaked satellites opened fire from orbit, and drones swarmed the enemy like storms of metal. One by one, Zorath ships began to fall. Explosions lit up the sky. The once confident fleet was now fractured and chaotic. Amid the chaos, Commander Voss noticed a small alien ship attempting to retreat toward deep space. She gave an order calmly: intercept and disable. Do not let them regroup. Within moments, human ships surrounded the vessel, forcing it back toward the planet. Its attempts to escape were futile. For the first time, the Zorath realized that this world did not merely defend, it struck with precision. The tide of battle shifted. The Zorath, who had come to Earth thinking it weak and unworthy, now faced defeat. Their morale crumbled as one flagship after another was disabled or destroyed. Pilots whispered in disbelief over comms. These humans, they are extraordinary. And they were. Human ingenuity shone in every corner of the battlefield. Pilots used the planet's atmosphere, gravity, and hidden terrain to their advantage. Engineers improvised repairs mid-battle, keeping damaged ships alive. Soldiers coordinated attacks without hesitation. Every part of Project Aegis worked in harmony. From the oceans, mountains, and skies, humans struck together as one. The Zorath could not predict, could not control, and could not win. Every move they made was countered. Every advantage they held was neutralized. Finally, Admiral Kaelor realized the truth. He stared at the burning remains of his fleet. They are not to be conquered, he muttered. They are not just survivors. They are warriors. Below him, Commander Voss watched the destruction of the remaining Zorath ships. Her face was calm, yet her eyes sparkled with pride. Earth is strong, she said softly, and the galaxy will remember it. The battle was not without cost. Human ships had fallen, and crews had been lost. But the message was clear. Earth would not bow, and humans could rise against any foe. The Zorath had come seeking easy victory. Instead, they were humbled, beaten, and forced to retreat. Across the world, the sky finally began to calm. Smoke and debris scattered, but the people cheered. Humanity had faced extinction and had triumphed. Hidden warships returned to their bases, cloaked once more, but the galaxy had seen enough. Earth was no longer a small, weak world. It was a planet of warriors, united and unbroken. The battle over Earth had ended, but the echoes of fire and energy still lingered across the skies. Where once the Zorath fleet had loomed like a crown of terror, now only fragments drifted, burned and broken. The planet breathed a sigh of relief, though the people knew that the fight had been only a beginning. Commander Elena Voss stood in the Mountain Command Center, her eyes scanning the empty skies. The fleet had returned to hidden bases, engines quiet, cloaking devices reactivated. For centuries, these ships had waited, hidden from sight. Now the world had witnessed their power. Report, she said quietly, though her voice carried the weight of command. Zorath retreat confirmed, replied her lieutenant. Their forces are scattered. No immediate threat, but they will likely return once they regroup. Voss nodded. Let them return. They will remember today. Across the planet, humanity looked up at the skies in awe. Cities were damaged, but lives had been saved. The fear that had gripped nations transformed into pride. People realized that Earth was no longer just a small, fragile planet. Humanity had risen to the challenge, and the galaxy had witnessed it. News channels broadcasted images of the battle, though not all were fully understood. Citizens could see the courage, the ships, and the coordination that had repelled a galactic empire. Across continents, a sense of unity spread. For the first time, humanity felt truly global, connected by a single purpose: survival and triumph. In the oceans, hidden carriers returned to their depths. Submarines that had launched missiles and drones slipped back into the waves, leaving no trace. In deserts, railgun silos closed, camouflaged once more. From orbit, cloaked satellites drifted silently, their systems ready to respond to the next threat. Humanity had revealed itself, but only partially. Its strength was vast, and it would remain hidden until needed again. The Zorath Empire had retreated, but the memory of Earth's resistance would haunt them. Reports spread through their fleets and councils. Commanders whispered in disbelief, unable to understand how such a primitive species had defeated one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. They adapted. They learned. Faster than any species we have faced, a Zorath officer admitted to his commander. Yes, the commander replied, his voice tight with frustration. They are not like any civilization we have conquered. Earth is exceptional. Back on Earth, the leaders of Project Aegis convened a meeting. The warships had returned to their bases, but their message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity was united, capable, and determined. Commander Voss addressed the room. We have shown the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated. But our victory is not arrogance, it is responsibility. We have the power to protect our world, and one day we may need to protect others. Her officers nodded. They understood the significance. Humanity had survived not through strength alone, but through intelligence, strategy, and unity. Every human on Earth, every citizen who had supported the secret programs had contributed. This was more than a battle. It was proof of the human spirit. In the following days, scientists and engineers worked to repair the damage caused during the brief but intense battle. Cities were rebuilt, infrastructure restored, and families reunited. Yet even in the calm after the storm, the people could not forget the sight of alien ships retreating, defeated by the determination of a small blue planet. Across the globe, discussions began about the future. Humanity had faced a trial unlike any before. They had survived not because of luck, but because they had prepared, adapted, and refused to surrender. Leaders spoke about the importance of unity, about the need to continue strengthening Earth's defenses. Citizens began to see themselves as part of something larger, a single species capable of greatness. Meanwhile, in space, fragments of the Zorath fleet limped toward distant systems. Reports of their defeat spread quickly. Other alien civilizations who had once laughed at humanity now took note. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Earth was not to be ignored. Humans were capable, cunning, and resilient. The so-called primitive species had defended their home against an empire that had never known defeat at their hands. Back on the planet, Commander Voss walked among her people. She visited cities, listening to stories of courage, fear, and hope. She spoke to pilots, engineers, soldiers, and ordinary citizens. Each had played a role, each had contributed, and each understood the truth that now bound them together. Humanity was special, not because of technology alone, but because of its spirit. In a quiet moment, Voss stood on a hill overlooking a rebuilt city. The sun rose, casting golden light across the skyline. She thought about the battle, about the hidden fleet, about the courage of humans everywhere. The galaxy will remember this, she whispered to herself. They will remember that Earth is not a world to be conquered easily. Children played in the streets below, unaware of the fleets that had risen and fallen in defense of their home. Their laughter was a reminder that life continued, and that humanity's greatest victory was the preservation of hope. Across oceans, continents, and deserts, humanity rebuilt, stronger than before. The world had faced annihilation and had responded with courage, creativity, and unity. For the first time, humans truly understood the power of their species. The Zorath, though defeated, would not forget. Their officers analyzed every move, every tactic, every strategy employed by Earth's fleet. They began to understand that humans were unlike any species they had faced, clever, adaptable, and relentless. One day they might return, but they would do so with caution. They would respect the planet that had humiliated one of their greatest empires, and Earth, for its part, did not seek revenge. Humans were proud, but they were not cruel. They had defended their home, proven their worth, and sent a clear message to the galaxy. Earth would not bow, and humanity would protect its own. Commander Voss returned to the mountain base one final time that day. She looked out across the horizon, knowing that the fleet was hidden, the cities were recovering, and the world was united. The sky had split open, revealing the might of humanity to any who dared to watch. The galaxy knows our name now, she said quietly to her officers, and we will not be forgotten. As night fell, the stars shone brightly. For the first time in history, humans looked up at the heavens not with fear, but with pride. Earth had survived, humanity had triumphed, and the universe had witnessed the rise of a species that would never be underestimated. In that calm, hidden beneath the stars and the shattered remnants of the alien fleet, humanity understood a simple truth: they were special, not because of power alone, but because they refused to give up, refused to bow, and refused to surrender. The world slept peacefully that night, but across the galaxy, civilizations took note. The story of Earth, once dismissed as insignificant, was now a tale of courage, intelligence, and unity. Humans had faced the impossible and had emerged victorious. The message was clear. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with, a species that would shape its destiny, and a light that would shine brightly in the universe. For the first time, aliens whispered a truth they could no longer deny. Humans were extraordinary, and Earth, quiet and unbroken, waited for the next chapter. The vastness of space stretched endlessly, filled with stars that burned like scattered jewels across black velvet. Yet in one corner of the galaxy, the stars were hidden behind a wall of metal. Thousands of warships floated in perfect formation, their hulls glowing faintly under the light of a nearby sun. This was the Zorath Armada, an empire's pride assembled to crush any resistance that dared to challenge them. The Zorath were patient hunters. They had conquered dozens of civilizations with one method: strike first, overwhelm with numbers, and wait for the enemy to fall apart. When they invaded Vera's Reach, a human border colony, they expected the same pattern to follow. The planet had burned quickly, its defenses no match for the alien war machine. Now the Zorath sat in silence around the system, waiting for what they believed was inevitable: Earth's revenge. Their commanders expected a grand counterattack. Humans were known for their stubbornness, for never backing down. The aliens had studied human history, the endless wars humans fought against one another, and concluded that humanity always answered aggression with overwhelming force. Surely Earth would gather a mighty fleet and hurl it into battle. That was why the Zorath brought everything. Over 3,000 ships filled the skies around Vera's Reach: dreadnoughts, carriers, cruisers, and swarms of smaller craft. They were not just soldiers waiting for war. They were witnesses to what they thought would be the crushing of humanity's pride. Admiral Karoth, a massive creature with hardened scales and sharp ridges along his head, stood on the command bridge of his flagship. He looked out at the glittering formation of ships. "The humans will come," he said confidently to his officers. "They cannot resist. Their honor will not allow them to stay away. When they arrive, we will tear them apart." His officers nodded, their eyes shining with certainty. They had numbers, weapons, and discipline. To them, the war was already won, and then something strange happened. A single blip appeared on their sensors: one ship. The bridge fell into silence as the information spread. A lone vessel had entered the system through the hyperlane, breaking into real space with a flare of energy. It was small compared to their giants, barely the length of a frigate. Its hull bore human markings, the proud emblem of the United Earth Fleet. The aliens burst into laughter. "This is their scout," one officer sneered. "Or perhaps a messenger," another said with amusement. "They come to beg for peace." But Admiral Karoth narrowed his eyes. Something about this felt off. The humans were reckless, yes, but never foolish. Why would they send only one ship into the heart of an enemy fleet? Inside that ship, the Horizon Spear, Captain Elias Kane stood tall. He was not a man of grand speeches or flashy uniforms. His face was weathered, his eyes calm, and his voice carried quiet authority. He had been chosen for this mission not because he was the boldest, but because he was steady, someone who could face impossible odds without fear clouding his judgment. The bridge crew around him worked with silent focus. Lieutenant Arya Selene monitored the alien fleet's movements. Her voice was soft, but her words were sharp. "Sir, their formation is tight. Over 3,000 ships. They are waiting for us to make the first move." Kane studied the glowing map on the holo display. A sea of red symbols surrounded the blue mark of their ship. The odds were impossible, yet his face showed no sign of doubt. "Good," he said simply. "Let them wait." At the helm, Ensign Darius Cole shifted nervously. "Captain, with respect, what are we really doing here? One ship against all that?" Kane didn't answer immediately. He walked slowly to the viewport, staring out at the distant flashes of alien engines. His reflection looked back at him, a man carrying the weight of an entire species. Finally, he said, "We are here to remind them who we are. Not just humans, but survivors, fighters, builders of hope when the galaxy thinks we are broken." The words settled in the crew's hearts. They were afraid, but Kane's calm turned fear into resolve. Back on the alien flagship, Admiral Karoth gave the order to hail the human ship. A crackling transmission filled the bridge of the Horizon Spear. "This is Admiral Karoth of the Zorath Empire," the alien voice growled, deep and cruel. "You have entered our system alone. Your courage is amusing but pointless. Leave now or be destroyed." The crew looked at Kane, waiting for his response. He tapped the console and spoke in a voice that was firm, steady, and carried across the void. "This is Captain Elias Kane of the Horizon Spear. I did not come here to surrender. I did not come to beg. I came to show you the truth. Humanity does not measure strength in numbers but in will. His words echoed into silence. On the alien bridge, the officers shifted uncomfortably. The Admiral growled in irritation. To him, these were the words of a desperate man. Then you will die, Karoth declared, cutting the channel. But Kane smiled faintly. That was exactly what he wanted them to believe. For hours, the lone human ship drifted calmly before the Armada, refusing to move, refusing to flee. The aliens grew restless. Why wasn't it attacking? Why wasn't it running? Rumors spread across the fleet. Some whispered that it was bait, a lure for a hidden human fleet waiting beyond the star. Others said the humans had developed a terrible weapon, one so powerful it did not require a fleet to use. Fear, small but sharp, began to creep into alien hearts. On the horizon spear, Kane remained silent. Every move he made was deliberate. He wanted the aliens to doubt, to fear, to wonder night passed into day on the ship's internal clocks. The crew rotated shifts, watching as the alien fleet continued to surround them. No attack came. The Zorath were waiting, but so was Kane. Finally, Lieutenant Selene broke the silence. Captain, how long do we hold position? Kane's eyes never left the viewport. As long as it takes. Every second they wait is a second they grow weaker. Doubt is more dangerous than any weapon. By the second day, the Zorath fleet was restless. Admiral Karoth was furious. He had expected the human to charge, to die bravely and foolishly. Instead, the human ship's calm presence unsettled his officers. It was as if that single vessel was daring them to act, daring them to break formation. At last, Karoth slammed his clawed hand against the command console. Enough, prepare the fleet. We will crush them now. Yet as the order rippled across the alien formation, sensors reported strange readings. The human ship was powering something unusual, a system not recognized in any database. What are they doing? An alien officer asked in alarm. Admiral Karoth stared at the display, his stomach sinking with a realization he could not yet name. The human ship, small and alone, was not a scout, not a messenger, not a mistake. It was a blade sharpened for this exact moment. And as the horizon's spear came to life, every alien in the system felt the first stirrings of fear. The alien fleet had waited long enough. For 2 days their ships surrounded the lone human vessel, and yet it did nothing but float in the void, calm and steady. Thousands of alien eyes watched the single speck of human metal, wondering why it did not move, why it did not fear. Admiral Karoth of the Zorath Empire paced across his command deck. His armored claws clinked against the floor, his tail flicking in agitation. This is a game, he growled. The humans are trying to test our patience. One of his officers bowed his head respectfully. Admiral, perhaps it is only a message ship. Destroying it will bring us no honor. Karoth turned sharply, his eyes glowing with anger. You think this is only a message? Look at it. They came alone into the heart of our fleet. Does that sound like weakness to you? The officer lowered his head, ashamed, but the thought lingered in every alien's mind. Why would humans risk such a bold move unless they had something hidden? On the horizon spear, the crew felt the tension of being surrounded. Every console hummed softly. Every screen showed the red marks of the enemy fleet pressing close. It was like standing inside the eye of a storm, waiting for it to break. Lieutenant Arya Selene adjusted her headset. Sir, their outer wings are shifting. They are restless. I think they will attack soon. Captain Elias Kane nodded calmly. That is what we want. The longer they wait, the more they imagine. The more they imagine, the weaker they become. Ensign Darius Cole, still young and eager but nervous, finally spoke. Sir, with respect, I don't understand. Why don't we just run? We can't fight all of them. The bridge fell silent for a moment. Kane turned toward the young man, his expression calm but firm. Cole, do you know what the Zorath expect of us? Cole blinked. They expect a fleet, sir. They expect hundreds of ships. Exactly, Kane said. They believe humans fight with numbers, with brute force. They've studied our wars and think they know us. But today we show them something else. Today we fight with the one thing they will never understand. Cole leaned forward. And what is that, sir? Kane's voice was steady as stone. Imagination. The ship was small, yes, but it was not ordinary. Hidden deep in its core was an experimental device. Something humans had worked on for years in secret. It was called the quantum distortion drive. To most, it was still a theory. a strange dream whispered in research stations. But on the Horizon sphere, it was real. The drive could bend the very fabric of reality in short bursts. It did not allow travel across galaxies like the hyperlanes, but it allowed movement no enemy could predict. With it, Kane's ship could vanish from one point and appear instantly at another within the same system. It was not infinite power. It drained the ship's energy and required careful timing, but it was enough to confuse even the largest fleet. And then there was the weapon, the Sun Lance. It was not a cannon in the usual sense. It was a weapon that drew power directly from the star of the system, focusing solar energy into a concentrated beam. It had been tested only once in a controlled environment, and even that single test had left entire moons scorched. The weapon had limits, but Kane had studied them carefully. He did not need to destroy the entire fleet. He only needed to strike with precision, to cut the right strings, to make the enemy believe the humans carried the power of gods. Admiral Karath studied the human ship with growing unease. He had dismissed the first reports of strange energy signatures as errors, but now they came again. His science officers bowed nervously before him. "Admiral, the human ship is channeling energy from the star. We do not understand how." Karath's scales bristled. "From the star? That is impossible." "It should be, yes," the officer admitted. "But the readings are clear." The bridge grew cold. The Zorath prided themselves on their mastery of war, but they had always believed stars were beyond any species' control. To touch the power of a sun was unthinkable. And yet, here was one small ship, quietly doing the impossible. On the Horizon's sphere, alarms pulsed gently as the Sun Lance charged. The crew felt the vibration under their feet, a soft hum that grew louder as energy filled the weapon. Lieutenant Celine's hands danced across her console. Weapon charging. Core temperature stable. Solar siphon at 70%. Kane's voice was calm. "Good, keep it steady. We don't fire until I give the order." Cole swallowed hard, looking at the glowing display of enemy ships. "Sir, they outnumber us 3,000 to 1. Kane allowed himself a faint smile. "Then we have the advantage. They must share one mind between thousands. We only need one." The words struck the crew with quiet pride. Their captain was not blind to danger, but he believed in their purpose. Meanwhile, in the alien fleet, tension spread like a silent infection. The lower-ranked officers whispered among themselves. "Why do they not flee? What are they planning? Could it be that they want us to attack first?" The rumors reached even the ordinary soldiers on patrol ships. Fear grew, and with fear came hesitation. Karath slammed his claws against the railing of his command deck. "Silence. It is one ship. They cannot harm us. Prepare to strike." But deep inside, even Karath felt the weight of doubt. One ship should not matter. Yet one ship was holding his entire fleet in place, as if invisible chains bound them. Inside the Horizon sphere, the crew watched the alien formation shift. Celine's eyes flicked to her screen. "They are preparing to move on us, Captain." Kane nodded slowly. "Let them. But before they do, we will remind them of the sun above their heads." He raised his hand. Fire. A blinding light filled the void. The Sun Lance roared to life, a beam of pure solar fury leaping across the dark. It did not strike the alien fleet directly. Instead, Kane had aimed at the star's corona, the outer layer of fire. The lance pierced it, stirring the sun itself. A wave of energy burst outward, a solar flare brighter than anything the Zorath had seen. Their ships trembled as radiation storms swept across shields. Alarms screamed. Crews scrambled to adjust systems, to protect themselves from the storm unleashed by one human vessel. And in that chaos, the Horizon sphere moved. With the quantum distortion drive, it vanished in a shimmer of light and reappeared in the heart of the alien formation. Before they could react, it struck again, this time with a focused lance that tore through a fuel carrier. The explosion rippled, shaking dozens of nearby ships. Admiral Karath roared in fury, but his mind was filled with fear. This was no ordinary weapon. No ordinary ship. They can control the star itself, one officer cried. "Impossible!" Karath shouted, but the word tasted hollow in his mouth. The fleet scrambled, ships breaking formation as panic spread. Some tried to retreat, others tried to fire wildly into the void, but the human vessel flickered in and out of sight, striking with impossible precision. One ship, just one. And yet it had turned their mighty armada into chaos. On the Horizon's spear, the crew worked with sharp focus. Celine reported calmly, though her eyes shone with excitement. 2 carriers destroyed. Multiple cruisers disabled. Their fleet is breaking formation. Kane stood steady, his voice calm. Good, do not chase them. We are not here to kill them all. We are here to make them afraid. Cole blinked at him in awe. Sir, they already are. Kane's eyes hardened. Not enough yet. They need to believe this is only the beginning. That behind us there is a fleet just like us, or worse. The crew understood. Their task was not victory through destruction, but victory through fear. To make the Zorath doubt their own strength. To make them imagine what humans could do if one ship could fight like this. And in that moment the tide of the war began to turn. The void of space burned with new light. The star at the center of Vera's reach raged, its surface shaken by the sudden wound inflicted by the human weapon. Solar flares stretched out like fiery arms, their heat and radiation battering everything around them. For the Zorath fleet, the calm formation they had built with such pride was now broken into chaos. Shields flickered, engines stuttered. Crews scrambled to reroute power as the storm crashed against their hulls. The proud silence of the waiting fleet turned into a storm of alarms and shouts, and in the middle of it all, the Horizon's spear danced. Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge, his face calm as his ship shifted through space. Each order he gave was short, precise. Jump, fire, vanish. His crew obeyed without hesitation, their hands moving with confidence born from trust. The quantum distortion drive hummed again. In a shimmer of light, the Horizon spear disappeared from one location and reappeared behind the Zorath's main command wing. Before the enemy could adjust, the sun lance fired, piercing a cruiser's fuel core. The blast tore through space like a silent explosion, scattering fragments into the void. The aliens tried to regroup, but the human ship vanished once more. Every time it reappeared, it left destruction behind. A carrier struck at the engines. A battleship pierced at its bridge, a cluster of small ships torn apart by one beam. On the alien flagship, Admiral Karath roared in fury. His officers scrambled at their stations, trying to track the human vessel. "Where is it?" he shouted. "Sector 7, no, Sector 3, wait, it's gone again," one officer cried, their voice breaking with panic. Karath's claws dug into the railing. He had fought many wars, commanded many fleets, but never had he faced an enemy like this. It was not just the weapon that frightened him. It was the strategy. The humans were not striking randomly. They were cutting at the heart of the fleet. The carriers, the command vessels, the fuel supplies. Every shot weakened the armada, not just in strength, but in spirit. His second-in-command leaned closer, whispering in fear. "Admiral, if one ship can do this, imagine what a fleet of them could do." Karath bared his teeth but said nothing. The thought was poison, but it was also truth. Inside the Horizon spear, Lieutenant Arya Selene kept her eyes fixed on the glowing map of enemy movements. Her voice was steady, though her heart raced. "Captain, their formation is collapsing. Many ships are falling back," Kane nodded. "Good, they will scatter soon." That's when fear becomes stronger than orders. Ensign Darius Cole gripped the edge of his console, watching as the red symbols blinked in and out. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. "Sir, we're actually winning." Kane's expression remained calm. "No, Cole, we're not winning yet. We're teaching," Cole frowned. "Teaching?" "Yes," Kane said. The Zorath thought humans only knew numbers, brute force, and noise. Today they learned that one human ship can strike like a ghost and carry the fire of a star. And once they believe that, they will never see us the same way again. The words settled into the crew's hearts like steel. They were not just fighting to survive. They were writing history. The Horizon's spear shifted again, vanishing from one place and appearing in another. This time it struck at the edges of the alien formation, targeting supply ships and communication hubs. Every shot spread more confusion. Orders from command ships were cut off. Smaller vessels were left drifting without guidance. To the Zorath soldiers, it no longer felt like one ship. It felt like an unseen force striking from all directions. Fear grew, whispers spread. Some believed there were dozens of human ships hidden by some new technology. Others swore the humans had learned to command the sun itself. The truth did not matter. What mattered was belief, and belief was breaking the fleet apart. Admiral Karath slammed his fist against his console. "Cowards. Hold your ground." But his orders carried less weight now. Many captains ignored him, choosing to retreat to safer distances. "Admiral," one officer said desperately, If we do not regroup, the fleet will scatter completely. Karoth's eyes burned. And if we chase that ship, we die. The words left his mouth before he could stop them. The bridge fell silent. For the first time, the Great Admiral had admitted fear. On the horizon sphere, the crew watched the alien signals break apart. Selene reported calmly, "Admiral Karoth's fleet is no longer united. Their wings are retreating. Several have gone into full jump sequence." Kane gave a small nod. "Exactly as planned. We don't need to kill them. We only need them to run." Cole leaned forward. "Captain, why not destroy the flagship? If we take out their leader, the rest will collapse completely." Kane's eyes narrowed, thoughtful. "And make him a martyr? No, better that he lives with the memory of this day. Better that he carries the fear himself. Fear spreads faster than fire." The crew fell silent, realizing the depth of their captain's thinking. This was not a battle of numbers, but a battle of minds. The alien fleet tried one last desperate move. A cluster of destroyers broke formation and rushed toward the horizon sphere, their cannons blazing. Bright streaks of energy cut across space, filling the void with deadly light. "Shields at full," Selena called. The human ship trembled as blasts struck its defenses. Sparks flew across the bridge as systems strained. Kane stood steady. "Jump, now!" The distortion drive roared, bending reality around them. The ship vanished just as the destroyers closed in, reappearing behind them. "Fire," Kane ordered. The sun lance blazed once more. The destroyers lit up like fireflies before bursting apart, their wreckage scattering across the void. The alien fleet broke completely then, ships fleeing in every direction. Admiral Karoth watched in silence, his heart heavy with rage and shame. Thousands of ships, and they had been undone by one. He knew he could not keep his fleet here. If they stayed, they would fall apart. "Sound retreat," he ordered finally, his voice low. His officers stared at him in disbelief. "Admiral?" Karoth's eyes narrowed. "Do it. We cannot fight what we cannot understand." And so the order was given. The once mighty fleet of the Zorath Empire gathered to crush humanity, began to retreat. One by one, their ships jumped away until only silence remained. On the horizon sphere, the crew let out a collective breath. They had survived. More than that, they had turned back an armada. Selene whispered, almost in disbelief, "They're leaving. Captain, they're actually leaving." Kane's face remained calm, though his eyes softened. "Good, let them carry the story with them. Let every corner of their empire hear what one human ship did today." Cole sat back in his chair, overwhelmed. "Sir, we were supposed to be the ones afraid, but we made them fear us." Kane placed a hand on the console, steady as always. "That is the lesson of today, Cole. Fear is the sharpest weapon, and humans have always known how to use it." The bridge fell silent, filled not with fear but with quiet pride. They had done what no one thought possible. They had faced a storm of enemies and turned it into a storm of doubt. And in that silence, the legend of the horizon sphere was born.